Once there were a young man and a young woman who got married and lived in a house on a hill. The woman brought with her a hope chest made out of blood-red cedar. In it she kept her linens and things where the moths wouldn't hurt them. When her first child was born, it was a little boy. His skin was as white as linen, and his healthy lips were as red as blood-red cedar. They named the boy Will. When Will was a boy, his mother died of a fever. Will's father knew he couldn't raise the boy alone. He married a widow woman who had a younger daughter named Marjorie. Will and Marjorie loved each other like brother and sister. But Marjorie's mother hated Will and wished he would die. One day there were apples picked fresh and brought into the house. Will came in from chores and wanted one. The evil stepmother took him to his mother's blood-red cedar chest to get the silver knife to peel the apples with. When Will bent over to reach into the chest, the stepmother slammed the lid. Will's head fell off into the chest. The stepmother laughed and laughed, but she knew she would have to hide her crime. She set Will up in a chair in the kitchen and set his head on properly. Then she tied a napkin around his neck as if he were about to eat. She put an apple in one of his hands and the silver knife in the other. When Marjorie came into the house, she saw the apples. She asked if she could have one. "Share your brother's apple," said her evil mother. When Marjorie asked Will for a piece of his apple, Will did not answer. "Oh, just hit him then," said the evil woman. When Marjorie hit her brother, his head fell off, and Marjorie thought it was her fault. She cried and cried. Now the woman said she would hide Marjorie's crime, even though Marjorie had not killed her brother. The woman cooked Will in a pot and served him for supper. She told Will's father that Will had gone away to live with an aunt. Marjorie didn't eat that night. Marjorie only cried. After supper, little Marjorie gathered up all the bones, wrapped them in her linen napkin, and buried them under the red cedar tree in the yard. A strong wind blew, and the cedar tree shook. Then the cedar gave off its red powdery pollen as if it were springtime. The red powder whirled around the tree in the wind. It looked as if the tree were on fire. It looked as if the tree were red with blood. The tree shook, and a little bird flew out of its branches. The bird landed in another tree and began to sing. My mother, she murdered me. My father, he ate me. But my loving sister, Marjorie, put all my bones beneath a tree, and I came back to sing on high. Oh, what a pretty bird am I. And I came back to sing on high. What a pretty bird am I. Marjorie laughed and clapped her hands. She knew that the bird was her brother. There was magic in the cedar tree. Marjorie went back into the house. The pretty bird flew over the fields and forest and into the village. The bird landed on the window of the metalsmith's house. The smith was making a chain of silver to take to the fair and sell. The bird began to sing. My mother, she murdered me. My father, he ate me. But my loving sister, Marjorie, put all my bones beneath a tree, and I came back to sing on high. Oh, what a pretty bird am I. And I came back to sing on high. What a pretty bird am I. The metalsmith looked up. That tune is the most beautiful song I have ever heard. If you will sing it again for my wife, I will give you this silver chain. The bird agreed. The smith called his wife, and with their arms around each other, they listened to the song. The smith put the silver chain around the bird's neck. The bird flew over the houses and roofs and landed on the windowsill of the bootmaker's shop. The bootmaker was making a fine pair of boots to take to the fair and sell. The bird began to sing. My mother, she murdered me. My father, he ate me. But my loving sister, Marjorie, put all my bones beneath a tree, and I came back to sing on high. Oh, what a pretty bird am I. And I came back to sing on high. What a pretty bird am I. The bootmaker put down his tools and said, That is the finest song I ever heard a bird sing. If you will sing it for me again, I will give you this fine pair of boots. The bird agreed and sang the song again. Even though the boots seemed quite large, they somehow fit the little bird perfectly, and he flew away. The pretty bird flew over the river and over the mill pond and landed in the windowsill of the grinding mill. Men were just finishing putting in a new stone to grind the corn. The old millstone, as round and flat as a giant's pancake, sat against the wall. The bird began to sing. My mother, she murdered me. My father, he ate me. But my loving sister, Marjorie, put all my bones beneath a tree, and I came back to sing on high. Oh, what a pretty bird am I. And I came back to sing on high. What a pretty bird am I. All the men agreed that the song was the most unusual one they had ever heard. They asked the bird to sing it again. If only you will sing that song again, we will give you the old grindstone from the mill. You can build your nest in the hole in the center. The bird agreed and sang again. The men lifted the grindstone, though the stone weighed many pounds. The bird put its head through the hole in the center of the stone and flew away with it. The pretty bird flew to Marjorie's house and sat above the front door. He began to sing. My mother, she murdered me. My father, he ate me. But my loving sister, Marjorie, put all my bones beneath a tree, and I came back to sing on high. Oh, what a pretty bird am I. And I came back to sing on high. What a pretty bird am I. Marjorie knew it was her brother singing, and she ran outside. The bird bowed its head, and the silver chain fell off. It fell around Marjorie's neck and made her even prettier than she was before. The father heard the bird singing, and he came from the barn. The bird picked up its feet one by one and kicked off the boots. When the boots hit the ground, they were just the right size to fit his father's feet. He took off his old boots and put on the new ones. The evil stepmother came up from the root cellar to see what bird was singing. Marjorie and her stepfather told the evil woman about their gifts. She asked the bird, "What have you brought for me?" The bird bowed very low, and the heavy millstone fell from its shoulders. It fell on the evil woman and crushed her. The bird flew down to the millstone. When it landed, there was a burst of fire, or of cedar pollen, or a splash of blood. There was Will standing on the millstone, well and whole. Will told them both what had happened. All three lived happily. And when Will's father married the miller's sister later, she was a kind and loving stepmother to them all.